Thank you, Program Director. I normally don't know how to begin when I go to speak in a place like this, and I'll always retreat into that nice phrase that has been coined for people like me, which says, all protocols observed. Except, of course, to thank the John Galiming branch for having put together this impressive memorial for Willie. I'm sure if he were to come in wearing his sailor's cap through that door, he would be surprised and he would have a lot of words to say about how our panel is constituted. He would say, Mindlos, wat gaan aan die mensen? Where are the women? But for me, this is the most unreal day, or the most unreal day was January 3, when Baby Houghton called and said words which will remain with me for the rest of my life. She said, Mindlos, your brother is gone. And for a moment, I just saw blankness. I've had a lot of brothers that have gone, and I've loved them, but this was a brother who was the closest thing to my soul. I hadn't expected to speak here, just as I'd never expected that this day would come to pass. I met Willie in 1977. We were new students. We had just gone into exile in 1976, and we traveled as a group led by then Jonas Gwangwa from Botswana to go to Nigeria via Lusaka, via Tanzania. And we found Willie in Dar es Salaam. And he then became the leader of that South African delegation that was going to Festac, to Nigeria. But before we left, I went into his place, into his house, into his office in Dar es Salaam. And coming from Botswana after a long time out without any exposure to this amount of books, I found this house here, the library, just wall to wall with books, and books I'd never come across before. So instead of joining with the other students, I sat and started to read. And I skipped the country wearing a very fashionable pair of jeans and a jeans jacket and a jeans pants. And at Willie's place, I had an opportunity to wash those jeans and hang them outside and sat down whilst reading this book. After a while, there was a sound which went, washa. When I next looked up, those jeans were gone. In fact, I saw them escaping. And I said, Willie, what's going on? He says, Mindlos, people steal things here. They've taken your jeans. So we ran, both of us, after the guy who had taken my jeans. And he was very athletic. I just admired the way he went over those hedges. And Willie said he probably had been trained by the sprinter, the Tanzanian sprinter called Philibert Bai. I don't know how far true that was. We went to Nigeria with Willie leading our delegation. And I'd never seen someone who was so small in stature being such a big person in the midst of very, very, very big people. Delegations from the United States came, and the only person they knew there, they just saw Willie with us, and they came and said, Willie, and they came, the women, they grabbed him, they put him up into the air. I'm saying this because here was a South African who had effectively become a very, very, very important link between ourselves and the international community. Without any airs and graces, he did that without any putting up, showing everyone that he was a poet that was recognized the world over. Then, of course, we, in that sojourn in Nigeria, he trained those students to perform some of the stories that had happened in their lives in South Africa during June 16. We went to a place, a university of University of Ibadan, where the military was everywhere. And Jonas Gwangwa performed the Nigerian national anthem on his trombone. We sat up there and watched the students performing, enacting some of the scenes that had taken place in 1976. Willie had given them the poems to recite. A Nigerian soldier, with all the paraphernalia of war, was sitting next to us watching that thing, started weeping. That's when I saw the impact of words, of language, of poetry on some of the representatives of power. Willie could be phenomenally stubborn. We were in a place, we were sent by the ANC to go to Congo Brazzaville to participate in the Africa 25th May celebration. And Willie was the leader of this two-man delegation, meaning him and I. And when we went there, we found a very, very difficult circumstance where people wanted to use the name of Nelson Mandela, but for nefarious reasons, which were connected to the worship of the leader there, Sasongwe. And Willie said, if you ever use this name here, I'm going to instruct the ANC in Lusaka to make sure that they have nothing to do with this gathering here. And I looked at him, so short and small over there, facing up to those people, and then they really did respect what it was that we were all about. Comrade Barbara Masekela said something, and she was the person with whom Willie and Comrade Wale formed the Department of Arts and Culture in Lusaka. This was a department that was at first sneered at, even by the leadership of the ANC. I remember every morning, whenever we went to the headquarters on Cha-Cha-Cha Road, we sometimes would meet with Comrade Alfred Nzo, who was the DG, SG, who would say to us, "Good morning, culture, what are you looking for here?" In that. But Willie and Comrade Barbara were able to make sure that they impressed upon the leadership that a liberation movement needs a Department of Arts and Culture, because arts and culture is or could be the essence of the spirit of the collective memory and aspirations of the people that are fighting, that we have left at home. Sis Barbara said, wherever you go, in the world, wherever you meet people from anywhere, you are sure to meet someone, a poet, a writer, that knows Willie Houghton. I call him the quintessential South African. When he was with hard-headed, battle-weary cadres, he was one of them. In 1982, I was coming out of Angola when he was going in there. And he has been commenting on the nature of MK, of Mkondo Wesizwe today. The same Mkondo Wesizwe which really put the name of the ANC on the map, and which sometimes, when it comes to some of the people who claim to be members of Mkondo Wesizwe, who claim to be veterans, and these are people who are hardly 25, and Willie comments on this and speaks of it as an abomination. When he sees this, when he is with cadres who have been trained, who have been in missions, he is one of those cadres. When he is with the academics, he stands up and becomes a person that is authoritative in academia. He could laugh. He could laugh like no one I've known before, and he could tell stories. It was in this branch that is named after John Gadi being one of our stalwarts that Willie, Wally, and I were honored. And for us, for Willie and I especially, whenever we would go and have our illegal coffee, because we're both not supposed to drink so much coffee, and he was not supposed to eat red meat, I was. Whenever we sat, we talked about this experience that we had had here. And he made me, I thought I knew the essence of ANC politics, the meaning of a branch. But he broke it down, the fact that the branch is the most important component of the African National Congress. And for that, he says, it is not, the ANC is not the NEC, the ANC is not the top six, the ANC is not one specific particular person. I need to read this. So the ANC is the collective memory, the collective pain of all the people that have endured through all these centuries. Willie is gone, but I think if there was ever one person who could go and still remain, it is Comrade Willie Houghton. Thank you very much.